Welcome to the deep dive. We're incredibly glad you're joining us. Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to sift through a mountain of data, performance models, and consensus analysis for the upcoming V85 harness racing event at Umåker. This is on Saturday, May 2, 2026.
Yeah, a really fascinating day ahead.
It really is. We're going to go through all 8 races from V85 1 all the way to V85 8 right in exact order. We're looking for the consensus favorites, the dangerous challengers, and the hidden upsets. So we open with V85 1, a mare's race. You have 15 horses. It's a volte start, meaning they're circling each other across multiple starting lines before the tape even releases.
Pure chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And the consensus favorite here is number 7, Galadriel.
Galadriel is she's the perfect test case for how a minor equipment change alters the underlying math of a race. For the very first time, she is running barefoot in the back.
Okay, so no iron shoes on the hind hooves.
Right. The statistical models heavily favor this change, even though, she actually lost her gait and galloped in her last start.
But, she has to navigate that 15-horse traffic jam first, because the data also flags one Noelia, a front-runner who is getting fitted with closed blinkers to force her aggressive focus forward. And then you have the major consensus upset pick, 3 Sweet Celebration. She is running barefoot on all 4 hooves for the very first time with top driver Mats E. Jews.
Which is a huge detail.
It is, but let me push back on the models for a second here. In a chaotic volte start where horses are literally bumping and fighting for position, does shaving a few ounces off the hooves actually matter? Or is winning just a product of whoever gets lucky and avoids the traffic?
No, it's a great distinction. Surviving the traffic is the prerequisite. But navigating that chaos takes a massive physical and mental toll on the horse.
Right.
They're accelerating, braking, shifting laterally. That burns through their aerobic capacity. The barefoot modification doesn't help you dodge traffic, but it preserves a crucial reserve of energy.
Ah, I see.
So when the field finally spreads out, coming out of that notorious final Umåker turn, the horse that conserved energy at the pendulum's end is the one with the explosive acceleration left for the final straight.
Okay, so the gear change isn't the engine. It's the aerodynamic efficiency that leaves fuel in the tank.
Exactly.
That bridges us perfectly to V85-2, a Class 2 race, where, well, efficiency basically goes out the window, and it is all about raw, terrifying power. The favorite is 4 Gallium Chronos. Our sources agree this horse has a massive engine, completely overqualified for this class.
Yeah, if this race were run on a straight treadmill, Gallium Chronos wins every single time. But he has a notoriously unstable gait.
Right, he struggles to keep his rhythm.
He really does. To counter this, the stable is applying a Jord blender. This is a specific type of downward-facing blinker. It essentially cuts off the horse's horizontal field of vision.
So he can't see the horses next to him.
Exactly. He can only see the crack directly beneath and immediately in front of him. This isolates him from all the peripheral chaos. And this is especially critical because he was recently gelded, which triggers a massive hormonal shift that can severely disrupt a horse's focus.
Wow, you are literally narrowing his entire universe to the next 10 meters of dirt.
That's exactly it.
But if he breaks his stride, the challengers are incredibly well positioned. The data highlights a duo from the same stable, 6 Secret Bow, riding a wave of 2 straight wins and 3 Hercules Allure. But the horse that absolutely demands attention is the deep upset warning, 8 William Avenue. Look at this profile. He has won 6 of his 8 lifetime starts.
Yeah, it's wild.
A 75% win rate. Why on earth is a horse with a 75% win rate sitting as a hidden upset?
Because algorithms are brilliant at calculating history, but they really struggle to quantify physical fragility. William Avenue has the innate talent to win, but his career has been completely fractured by injuries.
So the models see the wins, but the betting public sees the unreliability.
Right. Does he have the durability to survive Umåker's final turn today? That unknown variable is why his probability sits in the shadow of the favorite.
That tension between what the public believes and what the math says transitions us beautifully into the next stage of the day.
V85-3 introduces the Sport Trappa, or staircase start.
And the favorite here is 1 Wedley Broade, sitting comfortably on that ender track. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
When you cross-reference the data, a massive anomaly jumps off the page.
Yeah.
The favorite is incredibly vulnerable to number 12, Jaguar Godiva. Jaguar Godiva has faced Ridley Broade 3 times in his career. He has beaten him all 3 times.
A flawless 3-0 head-to-head record.
Exactly. Plus, due to a scratch, Jaguar Godiva actually shifts down to track 11, vastly improving his entry angle. We also have Too Fantastic Hall flagged as a highly consistent early leader. But let me ask you this. If Jaguar Godiva is statistically undefeated against this specific rival, why isn't he the favorite?
Well, this is where we really have to separate statistical reality from human betting psychology. When you look at the program, you see Red Librata in track 1, safe, easy, shortest path around the oval.
Right.
Then you look at Jaguar Godiva in track 11, buried in the back row. Human instinct severely over-indexes on the visual difficulty of starting from the back. The public panics and backs away.
So they bet with their fear, basically.
Exactly. But the performance models don't feel fear. The models simply calculate that Jaguar Godiva possesses both the physical capacity and the psychological dominance over Red Librata to close that distance. Finding that specific gap where public fear artificially depresses the odds of a mathematically superior horse, that is the holy grail of analysis.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it. You aren't just analyzing the horse, you are analyzing the cognitive bias of the crowd. Let's carry that analytical lens into V85-4, the Vorbjorken for cold-bloods. The favorite is 9 Lindoson's Technic. The consensus is overwhelmingly in his corner after 2 incredibly dominant wins this year.
He is an absolute powerhouse, but we have to factor in the unique biology of a cold blood race, especially one with multiple starting volts. Under high-speed pressure, it is biologically much harder for them to maintain a pure trot without breaking into a gallop.
Okay, that makes sense.
So statistically, this specific race setup is the hardest event to predict in the entire sport.
Which means the door is wide open for challengers. We have 3 Girl Kong and GL, who is dropping his shoes to run barefoot all around for the very first time.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, but the most fascinating variable is 2 Carlos. He's a Finnish guest horse. He has a perfect starting track. And last time out, he unleashed a closing speed that literally broke the models.
Carlos is the ghost in the machine today. Predictive models rely on overlapping historical data, who raced against whom, on what track, under what conditions.
Right. It's all about comparisons.
But when you introduce a foreign horse running hyper-competitive times in Finland, the models lack the domestic head-to-head data to properly rank him against Swedish cold-bloods like Lindoson's Technic. If Carlos gets a clean trip from the front, he represents a blind spot that could completely upend the consensus.
It's the ultimate wild card. You know the engine is huge, but you don't know how it handles this specific track. Now that missing data point transitions us right into the second half of the day. Let's dig into V85-5, a Class 3 race over a longer 2640-meter distance. The favorite is 1 Eagle of Oak. This horse has generational potential, but he is making his season debut. He hasn't raced in months, and crucially, he is starting from track 1 at Umåker.
Which, as we established earlier, is a geometric trap.
Yes.
To survive track 1 here, a horse must fire out of the gate with explosive, instantaneous speed just to avoid being boxed in by the horses angling down from the center of the track. Asking a horse to recruit those fast-twitch muscles and hit maximum anaerobic threshold on his very first start of the year before his cardiovascular system is fully race-hardened is an immense risk.
Onu Gloriezet has 3 straight wins and is getting an American bike for the very first time. We also have Six Brother Day returning from throat surgery. You are literally strapping a spoiler onto a race car. It is pure physics. And that exact tension fitness versus historical greatness is dialed up to the absolute maximum in V85-6, the Birth to Hans's Memorial. The favorite is 8 Dream Mine. This is the undeniable superstar of the field, 2025 Horse of the Year, over $9 million earned.
A legend.
Yeah, but he is making his season debut, he is running with heavy iron shoes on, and he is starting from track 8 on the far outside.
And this scenario is exactly why we rely on probability models to strip away human emotion. Emotion says, this is the horse of the year, look at the resume, he easily wins.
Sure.
But the algorithm looks at the underlying mechanics. Track 8 means he starts on the far outside of the curve. He is physically forced to run a longer distance than the inside horses. Running with shoes reduces his stride efficiency, and 0 recent races means his lactic acid processing is just not at peak capacity.
So the math says he's deeply vulnerable, and the consensus points straight to 5 before takeoff as the executioner.
Precisely. Before Takeoff has 2 live races under his belt this season. He has hit his cardiovascular peak. He has exceptional early speed, meaning he is highly likely to cut across the track and dictate the pace from the front.
Right.
Even a generational talent like Dream Mine is mathematically compromised against a slightly lesser but fully tuned up frontrunner. Dream Mine will be forced to burn extra energy running wide on the outside just to catch him.
It all comes back to the geometry of the track. If you were on the outside of the curve, you were just running further. Let's look at V85-7, Class 1, a 1640-meter sprint. The favorite is one Ebbett Rice. He had ideal conditions for a fast starter. Track 1 in a sprint is usually exactly where you want to be, though, he did get overly eager and burned himself out in his last race.
Yeah, he has to stay calm.
Exactly. But the value in the challengers is massive. You have 4 Jimmy Adore, who is incredibly explosive out of the gate and is getting those closed blinkers to tunnel his vision. And then we have a major upset warning in date-filling fuel. He is running completely barefoot, and the sources note he has been meticulously prepped for this exact scenario. But here's my question for you. In a 1640-meter sprint, if Ebbett Rice hesitates for just a fraction of a second at the gate, is the race already mathematically over?
In modern sprint racing, the margin for error effectively does not exist. It is pure anaerobic threshold.
Wow.
If Ebbett Rice wastes energy fighting his driver again or misses the gate release by a tenth of a second, Jimmy Adore's momentum will cross him and take the rail. Once you lose the lead in a 1640-meter sprint on Umåker, passing on the outside of that notoriously sharp final turn requires a burst of centrifugal force that most horses simply cannot physically generate. Every millisecond at the starting gate dictates the entire reality of the race.
So it's basically a drag race where the phony turn decides the winner. But then we completely flip the paradigm for the finale. V85 8 is a bronze versus silver division clash, a 2,640-meter marathon. We have a split consensus for the favorite between 12 Summer Music Night S and 15 Mike Sting.
Both very strong.
Yeah, Mike Sting is heavily flagged as incredibly resilient, having ground down much tougher opponents recently.
And we have to remember the structure here. This is a 2,640-meter Sportrappa, so those resilient, rich favorites, 12 and 15, are starting from the very back of the pack.
Right, they have a literal mountain to climb. Meanwhile, up at the front, you have 5 Raven, who is a massive threat to seize the lead and try to hold it all the way. He's being fitted with an American bike for that aerodynamic lift, though our sources do question if he has the raw stamina for this extreme distance.
It's a valid question.
And hiding in the data is the statistical gem of the day, 9 Crow Motion. He got completely boxed in with a full tank of energy in his last race, couldn't find a path out, and now he is sitting at an incredibly low percentage.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals a fascinating paradox. The betting public naturally assumes the horses at the front, like Raven, have a massive advantage because they control the track.
Because they're in the lead, yeah.
But statistically, over 2,640 meters, the leader is the one breaking the wind resistance. They are burning 15 to 20% more energy just fighting the air. If Raven goes out too aggressively, he will drain his aerobic reserves.
Oh, I see.
Meanwhile, the closers starting in the back, like Muck Sting and our hidden gem Crow Motion, are tucking in behind the pack. They are literally drafting, just like cyclists in a peloton, conserving energy.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so when they hit that tricky Umåker final turn, the front runners are running on lactic acid, and the closers slingshot past using the energy they save in the first lap.
It is an incredible positional trap. The horses in the back are actually the ones controlling the energy of the race. Okay, let's step back and look at the entire board. So what does this all mean? If there is one overarching theme to this deep dive into Umåker on May 2nd, it is that reputation is a fragile thing.
Highly fragile.
We are looking at a day defined by vulnerable favorites. We have seen time and again today that biomechanical advantages, taking the iron shoes off to alter the pendulum of the leg, strapping into an American bike to shift the center of mass, applying blinkers to alter hormonal focus, all of that and current race fitness matter far more than historical resumes.
Right. The past doesn't run the race.
Exactly. You can be the horse of the year, but if you are rusty, wearing heavy shoes, and forced to run wide on Umåker's final turn, the math is fiercely against you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. The next time you are analyzing a field of competitors, whether it's on a racetrack, in a market, or in your own life, take a second to look beyond the obvious names. The true value is almost always hiding in the mechanics.